I have a lot of work to do. And if you're in a situation where you're always resisting and resenting, it can be very hard to.
Well, you take so much energy.
Well, you can't write a book.
No.
You can't write a sentence.
No.
I asked my brother David the other day. We were driving through Harlem. Well, we were in Harlem. I was in Harlem. I said to him, well, what would have happened if I would have stayed? You know David.
I know David.
Because I wanted to stay, I did not want to go.
Ah.
And he laughed. He laughed. He said, you'd probably be dead. Everybody else is.
That's right. You know, one thing that I believe is we are Americans.
Can you
It
believe
is true. Well,
I know it.
we are Black Americans. We have our feet, our souls, our hearts.
And we paid for this country.
Absolutely.
That's why I would never leave it, by the way.
I know that. Never. That's a lovely thing.
At least illusioning myself to thinking that I should.
That line about you can never go home again, but you know what? You can't even leave it.
You can't leave it. You can't leave home. You carry it with you.
Right, and then you create a whole atmosphere.
There are no Harlem barbershops and beauty shops in Paris. They know of Harlem barbershops and beauty shops in Paris. You know.
You said something. A man came to you with a question about homosexuality, and you had a response to it. And I would like to hear it again, and again, and again.
Well, I said, that's a weird question. You know, homosexual is not a noun. Might be a verb, transitive, and most certainly it's an adjective. But it's not a noun. To have that question about the human experience, where it can take you, what it can do, to categorize it, one locks oneself out of. Sweetheart, I've known boys, I've known cats, white cats for that matter, who have went on the needle, and finally died because they were afraid someone was going to call them a faggot.
Wow.
You know, you know the one thing I know about human life, and I don't know much.
Less and less.
Is you have to trust life.
Ah.
If I love you and I duck it, I die.
Exactly.
You have to trust life.
And so if you trust life, that means all of it, the whole of it. And what does that mean about death?
Death?
Well, if one trusts life, is death not in that circumference?
I think, well, I don't know. If one is going to live, you can't be afraid to die. If I'm afraid to die, I'll never be able to live.
Hey, hey. Hey, hey.
Because no one knows anything about death. And that's also just another word.
For singing the blues. Oh, how do you cope with success? And after that, if you want to weave them together, that is fine with me. But how do you cope with despair? Despair in front of the fact that the world is saying you're a success.
I don't know if it's possible for an artist to ever be a success.
Would you say that again?
I said it's not possible for an artist to be a success. I love Malcolm and he got his head blown off. Love Medgar and he got his head blown off. Love Martin and he got his head blown off. I worked for B.B. King, JFK. Ain't nothing I ever typed out on the keys. Saved nobody. Took me a long time. That's why I ended up in the hospital.
I know.
It took me a long time to be a writer again, because one's always trying to be a writer. I don't care what the world says.
I know that. Regardless, whether you are trying to be a good Christian or a good Jew, or a good Muslim, or a poet. Whether you are 80 years old and you get up and you just try to make that fit you again, that cloak that you put down last night.
What my brother David did in his laconic fashion is I had to keep the faith.